It's the second qualifying event for the AWA Whitetail Pro Series, located at the State Line Bone Mine in northern Missouri. In this competition, the competitors are given 1 day to scout and 2 days to hunt. On the second day of hunting, they will face each other in the elimination, where 4 finalists will be selected. Those 4 will earn their spot to compete against the finalists from South Carolina at the championship in Kansas.
This year we get 1 day for scouting versus 2. It's a lot to ask of the competitors to come to a new property and actually figure it out in 1 day. The property as a whole, I think, is a little more challenging than what most people had anticipated. This time of year, the deer are just simply not moving. Second rut is actually done and it's cold.
Well, what we got here is a food plot by Horny Buck Seed Company. We got some turnips here, along with radishes that the deer really like. So that box blind there, could be pretty good here in the cold time of the year. They come out to dig these radishes up and these purple top turnips. You need that cold weather. Get those starches in these turnips to turn to sugar and get sweet. Deer really like to pound on those here late season, so this could be a good spot.
It's late December here in Missouri, and the rut's over. Deer aren't chasing does, so I'm really trying to concentrate on a high protein food source to set up on for the rest of the week. And so we're gonna ease over here and check these bean fields out and probably get something set up. Here's the beans that I'm talking about. And they left some standing. As you can see, there's still some pods on here. And these deer, they'll come in here and break those, and that's protein for these deer. And that's why I was so adamant about hunting this spot this morning. I was gonna set up down here in the corner because there's a big drainage that funnels, a bunch of CRP up here, a creek, and another plowed field on the other side. And it's a natural funnel for these deer. Pretty sure I'm gonna set up right in here. That way my winds blow back up in the CRP, because I anticipate most of the deer movement being out of this drainage right here coming in these beans. I'm in here just trying to make sure I'm set up to where I can shoot this whole field. The field's only about 100 yards long, and I want to make sure I can get good shots on both ends. We'll get out and brush it in real good and set her up. All right, guys, I just set my new pop-up up right here, and I hate setting up new pop-ups because of the smell. So I found this product. It's called Tree Topper. It's a raccoon urine, and man, oh my goodness, it'll make a train take a dirt road, dude. So I'm gonna take a bunch of this and put it on this pop-up to kind of cover my scent. And I might put some on my bologna sandwich later.
Isn't it funny how 2 guys can come in the same area, and even though they zero down within 100 yards, he picks his way. Oh, that's Brandon's right there. And I get over here and I'm trying to clue in on this. We're 100 yards from him. I'm trying to use this creek right here like a funnel. You can see where Brandon actually did come down in here. You can tell by the rubber boots he wears. And these deer are crossing on this ice. There's been a couple deer cross right here, and I tell you, it's just not enough consistent movement. And I think I'm gonna let him have this neck of the woods.
While looking for a location to set up his ground blind, Jason keys in on potential advantages for this area.
That road comes along there, so all those guys are hunting right there. I'm hoping that this little right here will end up being an escape route.
But as he continues to survey the area, Jason thinks he sees another competitor's flag.
Is it? Should I go check it and make sure? I better do that, I guess. I know that I flagged the tree stand first, so worst case, I'll set that tree stand. Yeah, I think that's what we thought was our ribbon, so it was just a leaf with the sun hitting it perfect. So at least there's no other hunters in here. Those beans are directly over there. This is completely wide open. I still think they're coming from here and using that and cutting across the corner. I had my tag on the tree stand. I'm gonna put a ground line right here in this corner, take that tag and put on this. With all those other hunters over there, I'm thinking some might come through this cut right here.
Last year for this competition we had 2 days to scout. This year we only have one. 1 day to scout property and hang 3 options, 3 stands. That's a huge feat. I'm confident in my areas that I picked, but again, I'm Mr. Mobile, so if it ain't happening, I'm gonna take it to the deer. That's how I do it. I think I've got 3 really solid positions where I can't do any more except hunt hard tomorrow.
Well, while I was out scouting, ran into this little gem here. We got a standing bean field. Everybody's, doing the same thing. They're finding the food sources, they're finding bedding areas. Anybody who hunts late season knows that standing beans is the ticket.
There's definitely one spot on this property that's the primary spot that everybody wants to be. Everybody has at least one spot in there. I just don't want to cram in there with everybody else. I'm trying to look at the possible escape routes. They're all on the north side of this field, which is probably where the majority of the deer will be. It doesn't seem like the greatest spot. I would probably never pick it outside of competition, but for the purposes of this, I think that we might actually see some deer movement there.
Well, I think my first stand, I think I've got a good chance to see some deer. Couldn't tell you about whether or not I'm gonna see a buck, but I think in the morning I've got a good chance to get a doe come through and get some points on the board and then just go from there. That's all you can do. This sport takes a lot of luck, and I'm hoping for a lot of luck in the morning.
I competed in the first AWA event in Texas, and I can't explain to you how intense it is. Deer come a long ways to eat a turnip, okay? Matter of fact, I might eat a little bite. I've hunted all over the country, elk hunting, deer hunting in Kansas, and when you come do one of these events, just the intensity level is so much more because you're actually in a competition.
Lots of fire in there. You bet it does. Happy hunting.
It really ramps up your emotions and all the things that go into play as far as your decision making, when you're going to move, should I move, what the other guys are doing. You have to take all that in consideration. This competition's one in itself. There's nothing else like it. I've got 2 good spots set up down here, one down here on a soybean field and the other one on some turnips that I feel like are going to be real good food sources as long as I can keep branding out of my soybeans. Deer candy right there. You gotta love it.
Well, this morning went kind of how I figured it was going to go. Everybody, I had a good idea they were going to go straight to that bean field. Everything funnels down to it. And my goal this morning was to go straight to that funnel, lock it down, and have it as my spot. Back home before I ever came this way, I already had some spots marked off the Google Earth maps, and all of them were funnel situations leading to a good food source. I didn't know it was going to be a standing bean field, and I get down there and Andy's already there. He had already flagged the very south end of that field, and there's a stand there and everything. I thought he was going to hunt it, so I went on in back to the funnel I'd already planned on hunting.
Well, here's this bean field that I've been talking about. And here's the flag that I hung this morning at daylight that Mr. Brandon drove right by here to get to the bean field.
And my buddy Andy didn't like that a whole lot.
I done marked it all up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go set up right on top of your
I didn't know I was going to make Andy that mad. I hate making him that mad, but I also hate losing. I don't want to lose this deal.
Dude, did you put a pop-up right there at the end of that field? Really?
End of the field.
Right up in that timber where the deer gonna come from.
You get a bunch of hunters together, like-minded people, and you send them out in 10,000 acres and they end up in the same spot. It's happened time and time again, and it happened today.
Definitely a spot I came to first.
In the timber? Yeah, I got one in there.
Thought I had it properly flagged, but somebody didn't think so. Is that how we're gonna play this game? You see my flags at the front of the field?
How are we supposed to play it?
Well, they said come back at 10 and get your camera guy and then go set up, so I didn't set anything up. I just flagged that field. How do you know I wasn't gonna set up in that corner, which is about 60 yards from
What does it matter? You can't mark a whole field.
Dude, it's 100 yards across the
Bull. Well, I got a rangefinder. We'll go range it.
He got a little worked up about it.
chicken dude.
Chicken.
Yeah, it is.
How's that chicken?
Because
One bean field on 3,000 acres?
I sat there and told you where I was gonna set up. You went in and did it anyways.
Shared some words, and we both got a little worked up about it, but I left the stand there.
It looks like you're gonna get in that blind.
Well, I wasn't gonna get in that blind.
How am I gonna know that from a ribbon?
I sat there and told you where I was gonna set up in that field, and you went right behind it and cut the deer off, dude.
Funnel situation,
Brandon,
one
what
on
would I have
one.
done if you'd have said, hey man, I'm gonna set up on this field? What would-
One bean field on 3,000 acres, man.
And I found them
first.
You
I
did.
found it first, yeah.
That's pretty hard. That's hard to do, isn't
Well,
it?
you see me walking across that this morning.
We keep bumping into each other in Texas at the first one, and it seemed there was a little bit more respect there in Texas.
And you should have enough respect for people to know that, hey, if I'm set up on there, I ain't gonna go back there and cut his off.
Do I have good hunting ethics and make a buddy, or do I go after, you know, the trophy? I want to win.
What makes you think you can claim the one bean field on this whole place? It's obvious, dude.
It's 100 yards across.
I don't know if you can see it, but right through there's an orange flag, and that's only about 70 yards from the edge of this bean field.
I set that up so people from the road could see there's somebody hunting in here, dude. And you drove right by that.
Regardless if it upsets him or not, I was here first.
You put your ribbon where you're hunting. You put it right there at the front, south end of that field.
People could see it from the road, it wouldn't come in there on my is what I did.
That's where Brandon set his stuff up this morning, which is cutting the deer off coming through this field.
That's why I tied that ribbon where I did, and that's why I walked my out there. I didn't drive my truck out there and blow a bunch of deer out there. I walked.
These deer know we're here, dude.
He's not 70 yards, and these deer are gonna follow this drainage coming to these beans.
You can hunt any end of it. You told me you was hunting that end of it.
Man, I know I wouldn't have done that to you, bro. I'm just saying.
So hopefully he does the right thing and decides that he was wrong and coming here in on me this morning and moves.
This is a gentleman's sport. This ain't a f***ing motorcycle race where you cut people off and shit, dude. I wouldn't have done that to you, man.
I don't like cutting people off hunting.
I stopped you right there in the field, Brennan, and I said, hey, I'm gonna set.
I said I'm going in the timber.
That kind of screwed my strategy up for the afternoon hunt, so now I'm kind of reeling what I'm gonna do.
Were you in?
You're thinking like we're hunting at home, man.
See that?
This is a different ball game.
You play it how you want to, man.
I'm not trying to play dirty. I'm playing by the rules.
Dude,
And that's
right there.
everything in this area.
I told you, I said, hey, bro, I'm setting up on this bean field. You walked right up in the middle of that and cut me off. You sure did, man. You sure did.
I did cut you off. See, I mean, I knew I was gonna make you mad. But what else am I supposed to do? Everything out here is obvious. It's obvious. Everything's a funnel. Everything's draining down. It's obvious where these deer are gonna walk. There's one bean field on 3,000 acres, man. I'm supposed to just sit back and watch Andy win this thing, hunting a field all by himself? Considering there's 80 acres of beans on 3,000 acres here, it seems like he don't want to give, and I promise you I'm not going to give. And I'm not trying to make enemies out here, but man, I'm not trying to lose either.
As the scouting day comes to a close, the hunters must finalize their game plan for tomorrow.
I'm pretty intrigued to see what these guys are coming up with on their own, and I'm curious to see if they're going to hit some of the spots that I may put them in if I had any say in the situation.
In this competition, the outfitter cannot give any information to the competitors about the habits and location of the deer on the property.
It's a different kind of aspect for me because, I mean, I know what I know, and I'm just kind of curious to see where they end up putting themselves.
All right, day one, competition. Let's get this going.
It's early morning on the first day of hunting. The temperature has dropped, and the weather conditions have changed. This could possibly have an effect on the hunters' strategies, as well as the hunters themselves.
This morning we were going all the way around the back of the property and cutting in along the river, kind of in the same area where everybody else is, but we're coming in the backside of it. It's 21 degrees right now, winds out of the south. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, there's supposed to be a wind shift to northeast winds and gusts of like 15 with some snow. So that's gonna really change some things.
It's the first morning of the competition. About 7:15, I heard one gunshot. I know that I'm not winning at this moment.
I stuck to my game plan. I hunted box blind early in the morning and saw nothing.
I was pretty confident about this sit, but it got a lot of traffic yesterday after I scattered it. I think everybody came through here at one point. I just knew for certain that deer would come down or come off of this and work their way up here. I haven't seen anything. I just need to get the trigger pulled on something.
Started out this morning on a cut cornfield, figuring deer coming from their feed and back to bed, and didn't end up seeing anything. Cold, once again, real cold. Went to a, kind of a stalk midday, bumped a few deer, but, once you kick them up, they're flagging and they're gone.
I had a spot picked out this morning. Wasn't real confident in it, but out of all the spots I saw, it had the most consistent, freshest sign in it coming from a food plot. After the deer supposedly would have come through, is all over. We're beating a dead horse here.
It's a tough morning. We had a front blowing in and the deer didn't move. I think there was one doe shot this morning, so it's pretty tough out of all the competition. And I went back out as soon as we got finished eating lunch and started sleeting. And it's been sleeting all afternoon.
Yeah, one of my main concerns is that these deer won't move at all tonight because the sleet's already coming down. And I'm just hoping that make them bend up and not move.
Conditions are tough here. I did see 3 does. We couldn't get a shot at them because they were off to my right, and I had a camera guy with me and just couldn't get on them. It's really a brutal day, man.
The first day was so aggressive. You get out here and it's totally different than a normal deer camp. When it comes down to taking that trophy home, everybody wants to take it home. I found a spot all by myself, 160 acres. I mean, it was like a circus over here on this main body of the ranch because everybody's scouting so much. I could park behind a barn on a big bean field. I could hide. I parked behind that barn at dark this morning and then waited until the sun came up, legal shooting hours, and there was 2 doe standing out in that field this morning. And that's how I got my 2 shots, and that worked great.
Doug is heading toward a bedding area that he previously scouted. At some point, deer will leave the bedding area to feed. This is what Doug is hoping for. The area is thick with briars, but Doug manages to spot a doe. It's taken 20 minutes to get a clear view of the deer, and if he doesn't take his shot now, he may not get another chance. After switching locations, Doug spots a doe through the thick brush.
Yeah, right there's a doe. And she's right there in those thick briars. Man, I can just barely make out she's a deer in the scope. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. That wasn't the best shot in the world. But she looked like she was getting ready to head back into the trees. Worst thing would be is if I just wounded her and it cost me points, but if I missed her, then better than taking a shell to bed with me tonight.
Just checked the weather. It's predicting the weather to change quite a bit. Snow, 3 to 5 inches. It's not the greatest hunting conditions, but we're gonna go make something happen. Morning started off pretty slow, just like I expected. So I switched it up at like 11 o'clock, went somewhere else, and had success there. And also had some success tonight, but overall, nothing's moving. It's rough hunting. Probably some of the roughest hunting I've ever had.
All right now I'm heading back to the same spot I hunted this morning. It's a cut soybean field that's right on a river bottom. I still think the hottest spot's that cut soybean and standing soybean fields over on that bottom on the other part of the ranch. The way I'm set up over here, there's no other way for another hunter to come in there and hunt it without hurting himself. I got every angle covered. I'm hoping it pays out for me and Andy doesn't get a big lead on us tonight.
I'm a dedicated hunter and I hunt hard anytime I go hunting, but I hunted harder today to kill a doe than I would on a 10-day elk hunt. The pressure that's on you all day to find deer and to get on them, it's a lot more than if you're just out on a regular hunting trip. It changes the game dramatically.
We hunted this morning till lunch and didn't see much. Had this front moving in and started sleeping about 1 o'clock.
The excitement, actually, when you do find a deer, it's more than if you're hunting for yourself.
We had 3 does come in to our right. We just couldn't get on them. Comes down to just getting a shot on a mature doe, and we couldn't make it happen tonight, so I guess we'll try to get in the morning, man. That's all I know to do.
The excitement and the feeling that I get when I saw those 3 does tonight was, you'd have thought I saw a 400-inch bull elk or something. It was pretty amazing. So, yeah, the intensity and the excitement's there definitely.
Definitely feeling dejected, man.
Well, we just got to the spot I hunted this morning. Looks like the sleet's starting to pick up pretty good.
Okay. We finally got all set up. And I'm sure you can hear the sleet hitting this ground blind, but it's starting to turn to snow. It's starting to get colder.
Brandon's strategy for separating himself from the others is paying off. Getting a good shot on any of these deer could possibly put him in first place. And with weather conditions getting worse, to get a clear shot, he knows it's now or never.
Oh, I can't believe I did that. I cannot believe I just did that.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Next time.
See that button right there? You're supposed to push that button before you shoot a deer in this game.
Your deer was after legal shooting time, so it will not count.
Let's shoot something. We're killing something tonight.
I will have to cut Andy off tomorrow. There's no ifs and buts about it.
For more information about the Whitetail Pro Series or to become a member, visit awapro.com.